What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a gorgeous 4K gaming PC build inside one of the most popular cases on the market. A build that aims to be as see-through as possible so you can look in and admire all of your components, and a system that's going to offer up fantastic gaming performance across the latest AAA titles. As always, I'll be taking you guys along for the ride, walking through the build process from start to finish and looking at gaming benchmarks later, with of course a signature GeekaWhat montage in the middle, because I think that this build is going to look pretty amazing. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. Now, the idea behind today's gaming PC build, apart from offering up great performance, was to be kind of as see-through as possible, and I'll talk more about why that is a little later. And now that obviously inspired my choice of the case today, Lian Li's O11D Evo RGB. This is the all-white design, and it's kind of the OG fish tank case. You've got glass on the side and the front panel of the chassis, and if I go ahead and grab the case, this is empty by the way, just for show, you'll see exactly what I mean. It's an absolutely gorgeous case that just makes me happy. Now, I've got some great hardware to go inside. I'm of course going to fill it up with Lian Li's Uni FAN designs. This is the SR wireless and the TR wireless. The TR wireless has kind of got this see-through infinity mirror, which I think could look pretty cool, and I'll be using that primarily on the side and on the top where the cooler's going to go. For the remainder of the case, I've got the standard SR wireless fans, which give us the same lovely RGB diffusion and the ability to control the RGB wirelessly. The fans, of course, still need wired power, because obviously they do. In terms of the CPU, I've gone ahead and picked up the Ryzen 7 9800X3D. It's a no-brainer. If you want top-end gaming performance, this is what you're going to pick. The only thing that comes close is the last-gen 7800X3D and the newer, higher core count 9950X3D. But that's only really beneficial, in my mind, if you need the extra cores. In terms of the CPU cooler, I've gone Lian Li to kind of keep the theme of today's build, and because I really like the look of their brand new HydroShift 2 LCD. Now, they do an LCD-S, which is a square screen, and a -C, which is the curved screen, and I'll link both down below. I picked this one up from Scan Computers here in the UK, and I bought it without fans, as I of course already have the fans that I need, and it would just be a bit of a waste of money to actually go ahead and buy it with fans. So that was it really. The main differences between the V1 and the V2 are the screen module. We now get a nice RGB diffusion around the edge, and the screen itself is a really nice resolution too, which is going to come in handy a little bit later. For graphics in today's build, I've picked up a Gigabyte Aero RTX 5080. The 5080 I think makes the most sense for top-end 4K gaming performance. It's going to look fantastic in the system today, and the rounded edges of the Aero design are just something that I personally really like. The 5080 is going to give you better performance than the competition. We get more frame rate than the 9070 XT, especially at 4K, and you get a good amount of video memory too. Plus, with the news that Nvidia's super lineup is either extremely delayed or at worst cancelled, the 5080 still makes a lot of sense. To trim a little bit of cost out of the build today, I did go B850 for the motherboard. You still get some overclocking support for the CPU, you can still enable Expo on your memory, and we can do that without spending quite so much cash. The 9800X3D is overclockable, but there's just not a lot of OC headroom in it, and as such, I just couldn't justify the extra cost that the likes of an X870 board would add to the equation. For memory and storage, I've gone for 32 gigabytes of Corsair's Vengeance RGB. Memory is of course incredibly expensive at the moment, and my advice remains, if you've got RAM already in your build and you're looking to build a new system, if it's DDR5 and it's compatible, just keep hold of it for now. Even if the speed's not great, the latency's high and the capacity's not quite big enough, you're better off waiting. Prices will fall, we just have to hope that it'll be soon. Talking of memory or storage, I've got the KIOXIA EXCERIA Plus. Now, this is a G4 drive, but confusingly it's PCI Gen 5. It's my first time using a KIOXIA drive, and we are going to have a review live on GeekaWhat.com, which I'll leave linked in the cards now and in the description down below. This is 2 terabytes and offers up fairly good value for money, which is obviously a good thing. Now, to build today's system, I've got to give a big shout out to LTTstore.com for sponsoring this video and sending over their brand new Prismagic series transparent screwdrivers. These new designs add an awesome Y2K inspired inspired look and feel to their existing transparent screwdriver design, with 4 colours available from cryo teal to plasma purple, molten orange, and even a sick looking carbon black design. Now the great thing about these Prismagic designs is they keep lots of the things that make the OG screwdriver so good. From the integrated bit storage with 12 included rust resistant bits, and one of those is this super strong magnet which is perfect for picking out PC screws, and an extremely low back force on the ratchet mechanism that helps to reduce fatigue and improve your PC building experience. A big shout out to LTTstore.com for sponsoring today's video, and you can learn more about their new Prismagic screwdrivers at the first link in the description below. I don't need this one anymore, do I? We can kind of like maybe Photoshop it crashing down, Steve, and then it kind of dunk, you know? It was these screwdrivers that actually inspired the see-through design of today's build, hence the see-through case, the infinity edge fans, and the screen on the cooler. Anyway, right, the next step of the build is actually to start putting this thing together. And as always, I'm gonna start by installing the CPU into the motherboard, dropping the RAM DIMMs in the 2nd and 4th slots, and adding the NVMe SSD under our large toolless heatsink on this AORUS B850 ICE motherboard. Now then, with that sorted, the next stage really is to check out what the CPU cooler installation is like in order to figure out whether or not there's a great deal of prep to do now before moving the motherboard into the case. It's also the first time I've actually had hands-on with this brand new cooler from Lian Li. I've obviously used their HydroShift before, but it's interesting to see what improvements they've made this time around. Now, for those of you wondering, the HydroShift bit basically means that the tubes run along the back of the radiator in these little guides, and you can see here, this is actually adjustable in position, so we can move this left a bit, right a bit. And the idea is that the tubes will go straight from the CPU up and hide behind the radiator. It's got this nice silver brushed panel down the side, which is rather lovely. We've got the actual CPU block, and you can see that there's a little shroud. Now, this shroud is kind of similar to ones we've seen on other designs, where not only the screen comes off fully, but it intends to hide the integrated mounting hardware. And there's just some little pogo pins on here that will obviously get the screen connected to the cooler itself. Now, this isn't rotatable, it only goes on one way, but you will be able to rotate the screen in software if the alignment isn't quite where you want it to be. There should be, I'm hoping, some sort of manual, here we are, that's gonna tell us what it is we need to do. Okay, it's a bit word overload, but basically you've got to remove the stock AMD brackets and then add these plastic retention brackets on instead. Once you've done that, the cooler will then be easy to install. So I'm gonna do just that, take the plastic brackets off around the motherboard and replace it with the brackets included with the Lian Li HydroShift instead. To install the motherboard into the case, we just need to remove the tempered glass panel, and then it's a case of just checking the locations of all the different standoffs. That all looks good to me. You can actually move the motherboard down a bit if you want to. You can see at the back there's a little plastic clip, and that can move to the top to adjust the I/O. But to be honest with you, I'm really happy with it where it is. So what I'm gonna do instead is just slide the motherboard in, get it lined up over the included standoffs. Come on. You can do it. There we go. And then secure it down. There's 3 screws at the top, 3 along the middle, and finally 3 down the bottom. And I can use my ratchet screwdriver from LTT stuff. They haven't paid for that bit. I should probably, maybe we'll cut that out. With the motherboard in, the next stage I think is going to be the cooler and also all of the fans, of which there are many fans. So what I'm going to do to begin with actually is get the fans onto the top of the radiator just here, and then secure the radiator to the top of the case. And I can show you exactly how the water block mounts, because it's pretty clever. Okay, so I'm going to take the CPU block off. The tubes are a little bit tight, however, I feel like they are roughly in the right place. Now, I could loosen them a little bit from the top, but in a slightly weird way, having them as tight as possible, I think is actually going to look the best. The challenge here, though, is going to be getting the thermal paste on, then getting the water block on without causing any damage or spillage. So, water block is kind of on. Do they go through? Yes. Okay, there's one screw. Second screw. We're getting, this is promising. We are getting there. Okay, so long story short, it kind of like slides into these plastic brackets, which I've never ever seen before. And yeah, that was a bit of a rush job from me. I think instructions may have been a bit useful there. But yeah, once it's in, it actually is really, really easy to secure. Just make sure that you slide it into those plastic brackets, as explained in the manual on your screen now. Do as I say, not as I do. And then once it's on, the screen can return into place and that looks really rather good. In terms of fans, there are 7 left to do in total, a 120mm at the rear, and then reverse blade fans on the bottom and the side. Now, it's coming together, and it looks, I feel like I say this about every build, but it actually looks really, really amazing. For the power supply in today's video, I've picked up the Corsair RM850e. Now, 850 watts will be enough for a 5080 and a 9800 X3D. But if you want to step up to a 5090, I would go for 1000 watts at least. The reason I've gone for this particular Corsair unit is because it's actually very affordable and comes with a few things that will save us money. And here on the GeekaWhat channel, it might not look like it, admittedly, I do like saving money where possible. It is a gorgeous white power supply, so that's a good start. And you can see, look how nice that is. That's really, really stunning and quite a compact little form factor. But look at the cables. There's no need to go for PSU extensions because these look, well, fantastic out the box. Now, they're not sleeved. They are like nylon sleeved, but not like sleeved in fabric material, which is what you would typically have on like PSU cable extensions. But for today's build, it's going to be absolutely adequate. And they even give you a white power cable for the PSU and a white plug. Corsair's RME lineup, really, really good. And we actually use Corsair RME power supplies in a lot of the PCs we sell on Geeka PC, which is our UK pre-building company. And now's a good time to mention, we're going to be selling this exact system, admittedly with some changes to the memory and the storage as a pre-built PC for our UK viewers. So if you're based in the UK, you want to build this, head over to geekapc.com, check out the full specs, check out any differences. Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. And I think if you don't want to build it yourself, that's a really great option. If you do, I'll link all the parts below as normal. Power cables. We're going to start off with the big one, which is the motherboard power connector. Now, that's going to go in to the bottom of the PSU just here, and it's all very, very nicely labeled, which I appreciate. Also going to pop in where's the GPU power cable? Here it is, the PCIe 12 volt high power. That's going to power up the RTX 5080 in today's gaming PC build. Lovely stuff, just like so. Also going to pop into place the CPU power cable. This particular build is going to have 2 8-pin harnesses, or 2 4+4-pin harnesses for the CPU power up in the top left-hand corner. So we're going to go ahead and pop one of those in there, and then the second one, is that the one? Nope, nope. Yes, the second one is going to go just adjacent to it as well, into the modular interface on the rear of the power supply. I'm also going to add in a SATA power harness, not because we've got any hard drives in this build, but because the fans that are included, they are powered by fan headers, but those fan headers are best plugged in to a SATA power cable, as the speed will be controlled via software, and the SATA power cable will make sure there's enough power to go around. I'm then going to go ahead and just screw the power supply into the back of the case. You might be wondering why the actual PSU sticks out a bit here. It's just to allow for extra PSU length and clearance, which actually is pretty clever. This power supply is very compact and doesn't need it, but it's still nice to have. So it's the next day. I figured we'd save the GPU until pretty much last. There's a few front panel cables to go, but I've hovered the GPU over the PCI slot, and we've got a problem, and it's a pretty big problem. You know, I said earlier you could move the motherboard up or down, and that I was quite happy with it in the upright position. Yeah, well, that's not going to work because the PCI lane location is actually too low for the top lane on this Gigabyte motherboard, which means taking the CPU cooler off, unplugging the power cables, and moving the motherboard down. This is slightly painful, but it's all for the cause of a great looking PC build. At least that's what I'm telling myself right now. Right, so it's moment of truth time. Does this now line up? Yes, it does, and it's looking amazing. What I'm gonna do is just remove my little thumb screws, which I handily placed back in here after I took the PCI lanes out, so I wouldn't lose them. And I'm then gonna go ahead, push the notch back on the PCI lane, and slide the graphics card into place. Bit of pressure. Oh, yes, yes, and more yes. It looks amazing. Quite compact, actually, for a 5080. But yeah, that's pretty gorgeous, isn't it? All I then need to do is run a GPU power cable, which is easier said than done, given the location now of the motherboard being a bit lower and all the fans at the bottom of the case. Plug that in, finish off some front panel cables and wiring, and then boot this thing up and see how good it looks. And boy, am I excited for that. looking amazing. I'm so happy with how this build turned out and really enjoyed using the new Prismagic screwdriver in the process. But what about performance? Well, let's dive straight in, shall we, with a bit of Arc Raiders at 4K on the high settings preset. Here the build pulled in an average of more than 120 frames per second. 0.1% lows were a little bit on the low side at 26 FPS, but the gaming experience overall was very good. Moved through to Battlefield 6 at the 4K high settings preset on this 5080 and 9800X 3D combo, and here the system was a little lower, just shy of 90 frames per second on average, but still very playable. And I think Battlefield as a game graphically is just absolutely incredible. Looks so good at this top resolution. Throwing it back to a slightly older title in Cyberpunk 2077, and here frame rates were good at 4K high settings on the game's inbuilt benchmarking mode with over 90 FPS on average. F1 2025 is a personal favourite of mine and a good one for those of you looking at performance in sim racing titles. Here at 4K on the ultra high preset, but like our other results, all rasterization based, and frame rates were strong, over 150 FPS on average. Marvel's Rivals at 4K high also performed really well, as you might expect, with 96 FPS all told, and better 1 and 0.1% lows on this occasion, especially when compared to the likes of Arc Raiders, which we tested a little earlier. Finally, for a bit of fun, we tested Fortnite at 1080p competitive settings. What happens when you tune everything down to low except the render distance, which we set to far? 503 FPS, that's what happens. It's absolutely insane. Incredible performance from this build, as you might expect, and those frame rates only possible by the fact the 9800X 3D helps to alleviate so much of a bottleneck off the GPU. You can check out latest part pricing and availability for everything in today's build at the affiliate links in the description below. Make sure to get subscribed if you aren't already. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.